Aloha, everyone. Carlotta J here with the Lovelight Speaks series. Today, we have a beautiful soul, precious to my heart. Her name is Liz, and Liz is in the business of working hard and also having fun. She believes in seeking the balance to life with an open mind. A practicing yogini and free spirit, she loves connecting with her local community of healers and learning about the different ways to improve the overall quality of living. She enjoys traveling to national parks and being one with nature. What she receives from her adventures, she gives back to the community in many selfless ways. When she's not practicing massage, you can find her vibing out to good music, playing with her friends, and exploring in hidden gems of the beautiful south of Florida. I met Lynn through an amazing gifting circle of empowerment where we support one another's dreams by contributing, meeting on a weekly basis, and holding space for one another, checking off milestones, and just being able to have that encouragement for particular ambitions and aspirations. And throughout that process, I learned a lot about myself and about Liz and realized that she was a true kindred spirit. And there was a calling in my heart to invite her into this series, and it's finally being materialized now. And I am excited to share her heart with you. Her essence and her vibe is easily related, and you'll see what I mean when you meet her. I'm so excited to bring her on. Let's see if I can get her in here and introduce you to Miss Liz and hear what her heart has to say and what she might bring to the table today in Lovelight Speaks. Yay, there she is.
Yay.
Aloha,
Hey,
Miss
CJ.
Liz. Hi.
Aloha, CJ. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you so much for joining me with this Lovelight Speaks program process series where I felt like it was so important to highlight others that had the heart and the inspiration to be in service to the collective and to share their gifts and their strengths and their essence to make the world a better place.
Yes.
And I shared that we met during a very beautiful invitation to a gifting circle, and just how amazing that whole experience was, and how much, self-recognition and awareness was brought to that, and how beautiful it was to learn how to hold space in that context, and how awesome it was to meet you there.
Yeah, I have the pleasure to meet you and everyone else, and it was a learning experience for me, especially with communication, just communicating and just putting our intentions with abundance. That's something that I've been learning for the past 2 years, to really just trust, and whatever happens, but there's always a lesson to that. So I'm grateful to meet you and everyone else, but it took us to here, and I'm so honored to be here as well. So thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. And I have to say that one thing I learned there is I did learn that, and I wasn't aware of it because it wasn't apparent, and it might be, something to speak on here, is that you in that forum, in that platform, didn't necessarily have the confidence to speak. And yet from where my position was, when you did speak and when you had something to say, you always had something so soul-centered and so deep and so sweet. Like I felt like you always communicated with a true connectedness to your, what your heart was wanting to share in that moment. And that's what really inspired me to bring you onto this platform, is that, sometimes what we perceive to be as not our strengths are truly something that other people see as a strength, or other people, witness within you that that you may not even recognize that's there.
Definitely. And it's been a journey overall, just with speaking. Ever since I was a kid, I was always shy. I was very timid. And I come from a family that's timid. My mom she's really shy. And I guess I want to speak about my journey because, growing up, I was raised in Miami. Well, I still live in Miami, but it's opened my eyes to so many things, so many cultures, because here's a melting pot. And yeah, like I was saying, I was very conditioned to repress, repress, and really just be respectful of yourself, have manners, but you can't do this, you can't do that because this could happen. There was so much fear with that. And I just felt so contained as a child. And then growing up in the city, there's so much exposure, so much culture, so many nationalities, and like you learn from people. And I just always question about things. My parents were never religious, but my parents' friends used to take us to church, and I love the community aspect, but I always questioned things, and I always thought about the world in different ways, and I always thought about how kids were living in China, and I just felt like my soul was meant to be free, like a free spirited soul. And I think because of that, it has taken me to places, and and I'm here. And I feel like there's just more than life than what it is right now, from what people think. Like people are just contained in this box, and it's just so many dimensions, so many places where you can go with your spirit just being here on earth. And I just had to trust my intuition, and I felt like all those years that I was contained is because I was blocked from my inner voice. So the journey with myself has been finding my voice within myself in order to find my voice, like my other, my I guess you can say my outer voice.
Mm-hmm.
And because I worked myself inside out, lately I just been having that call to speak more and to challenge myself and to show myself, because like you just said, sometimes you don't see that strength within, but someone else sees it, and they are a reflection of you, and they want to reflect that out of you. So that's why I want to continue just doing this, and this is just the beginning for me. Um so my experience with, I guess, what I want to talk about is my journey with body work, and that's another area that I've been focusing on. And just with the body, because everyone has trauma, like I can't think of anyone who doesn't have trauma, and trauma doesn't have to be something chaotic. There's different forms of trauma, and we store our trauma in our bodies, and it becomes blocks, and it blocks us from expansion. So I had to connect with my body in order to tap with my inner voice, and then tap into the mind, the psyche, and then tap into the spirit. And I guess my journey with body work has started when, I didn't go to college, I didn't like school. That was just not my thing. And, I was working in the restaurant business for so many years, and I was living that Miami nightlife, I guess the high life. And yeah, I guess you get in that age in your 20s and you're like, well, I'm 20 this, and I need to, you're kind of comparing yourself with other people, and you just feel unhappy. And I always felt like there was something missing in the world for me. And the thing is, like, something that's been like in my mind a lot is that we're always trying to search for our purpose, but what if our purpose is just breathing and living? And I feel like that we have the answers within. Like we always have it in front of our faces. We're just kind of blind by it. And sometimes we just have to kind of, I guess, do things or kind of wipe, I guess, that little dust that's in your, face or eyes, to really see that it's here. You don't really need anything else, So I think that's where I'm at. And working, in the restaurant business, like I said, I felt unhappy. I didn't take care of myself. I was overweight. Now that I look back at it, I guess I was going through some form of depression, and I never really, I never had that counseling. I never had that guidance to guide me. I never had that. And it was all along my inner voice. It was just blocked. But I started getting into fitness, and then fitness kind of took me to, yoga. And, doing yoga, it was baby steps. I wasn't even a fan of it. I thought it was weird, but there was something in me. I was like, there was something, you need to keep doing this. And I did it. And eventually I started volunteering at yoga studios, and that's what led me to teacher training. And that was an experience. But again, my communication, my, I guess, throat chakra was blocked. I couldn't manage myself teaching. It was just like, just the thought of having people to guide people was just so hard for me. And I just kind of gave up the idea of being a teacher. And I just said, well, if I can teach, at least I got something out of it. It made me deepen my practice, because like you can take yoga teacher training, and, it doesn't have to be for teaching. It just be for, just like I said, deepen your practice. But I was like, I have to do something with my life. I have to, I'm getting into the healing arts, and I have to do something more with alignment. And I took a trip, and it was a spiritual trip for me. I went to Sedona, I went to Texas. I did my first peyote ceremony. Mind this, I've done medicine work prior to that, but when I came back, my sister was like, you should, look into massage. And that's how I got into it. I really didn't have any expectations about it. I didn't even think about it too much. I was like, I just got to do it. I have to do it. I have to do something with my life, but it's not something that I wanted to do. But just that whole journey, I ended up going to school for acupuncture, but they just had a massage program there. And it was really fascinating, because I was already like learning about Chinese medicine, but in this program, it was talking more about, your psyche, and your spiritual aspect of it, how diseases start from the spirit, and the Western medicine, everything is, okay, you have a disease, and then, you have symptoms. How can we, I guess, medicate that,
Structure function relationship.
Exactly. And then in the Eastern philosophy of medicine, it's like, well, how can we cure that, like on a spirit level?
Purify.
Because exactly. So mind this, I wasn't really in touch with my body at that time. And, it was, again, a trusting thing, because me touching people was like, I couldn't even do that. I didn't have a flow, but something in me told me, you have to do this. Like, it's going to challenge you. You got to do this. And for me, it was healing for myself too, because, I was getting massages from my peers, my colleagues, and I've never really dove into massage. And when I would get a good massage from one of my colleagues, I felt like a different person. It just really opened me up. It was so healing. And I think, I know this is weird to say, but I feel like it should be taught maybe in college or something, or maybe in school they should have wellness class, because in elementary school they emphasize, like the puberty within boys and girls, and reproduction classes. But I think it's really important to have like wellness part for like elementary school or middle school or high school, like as an elective or something, because no one taught me that massage was so healing and so beneficial and so important to have as part of your lifestyle. So yeah, that just kind of opened the doors for me to really pursue this. And I was a little hesitant because I didn't want to see myself work in the spa, like industry, because work in the spa industry sort of feels, not exactly, but does feel a little bit like the hospitality. It's just different because you're not serving food or alcohol, but it could feel like that. But that's where I ended up working in the spa because of connections, which I'm so grateful for. But that itself, just working in the spa, has developed me as a massage therapist to work with people, how to speak to people, how to connect with people. And it has progressed into different, I guess, modalities of body work, and just giving me that opportunity to even receive from people, because that's something we love doing, is giving, but we don't receive. And we just have to surrender to that sometimes. We need it. We need to just allow our bodies to receive and to really just enjoy that process, because we're always in this, I guess, people work 9 to 5, and we're in this world of a lot of stimulation, and there's just so much distraction, and we just forget to take care of ourselves. And that's important for us to really really honor that, because in the end of the day, our body is our temple. It's what takes us to places. And I guess this generation, we're so delusional when it comes to that.
No, I think it's valuable. It's valuable what you're saying, is that education of the mind, body, and emotional connection, right? It can be, I think that the world is going through a lot of changes and shifts right now. We're seeing and witnessing like the end game of what doesn't work, right? Like across the board with like all of our systems. And I do agree with you that the education system has lost a huge opportunity to implement awareness of emotional well-being, mental well-being, physical well-being, and what it is to be heart-centered and tuned in, like how to honor your body, how to listen to your mental, emotional, physical aspects and honor them. And I think this can be, kind of provided in all levels, like as English, or math gets a little bit more progressive as you go through your education, primary education. I think well-being can do exactly the same thing. You can teach the value of, physical, mental, and emotional well-being in, kindergarten and first grade and up, right? Like it's, just appropriate to the capacity. And I think it would create a more compassionate populace, right? Like a more aware and respectful, general collective. In, I think the world would look a lot differently. So I think that's really valuable for you to reflect that and to say that. And because if not, this is where we end up. We end up not being connected to our bodies, like you're saying, and not understanding how to communicate our needs, or to even listen to what, and to know that we have needs, especially when we have so much, kind of like you said, being raised in containers, being raised in a state of kind of confinement or limitation, or not really being given permission to fully express yourself in an authentic manner. So then we have to catch up. Then we have to literally, pull ourselves, really into a courageous place where we delve into these things on our own, when, all along we could have been nurtured, we could have been orientated and given permission and taught how to exchange, put into maybe circles as a children of asking one another, how are you feeling? And there, there's beautiful ways to manifest that. So I find that that's really relatable. And I love the fact that you knew that there were challenges, in you, like, I got to do something, right? Like, I something with my life. So there was that intuition, and like you said, you just had to listen to it, and be willing to leap and explore what that is. So I love that you followed your heart, and was courageous enough to, to do those things and to listen, because it does bring you to where you are. And I think that plant medicine takes an incredible amount of courage, if done not recreationally, but truly to take a journey to learn more about yourself, right? And I think that is hugely courageous to do, and to be able to access that, step into that arena, and then learn how to process that and apply it to life thereafter.
Right. So speaking about plant medicine, for me, that was the icing on the cake. And like I said earlier, the answers are within you. But the journey with plant medicine opened my eyes to realize that, yes, these medicines are very sacred. They're very powerful. They really work with your subconscious mind. You can definitely rewire, just recreate, I guess, your mind, body, and soul. And I think it's been such a blessing to have that experience. I don't know who I would be if I never dove into that. And it opened up basically all my chakras. That's what it does. It just expands it. Like I said, it reprograms your mind, and it connects you to your spirit, or to whatever you feel the call for, your ancestors, your past life. And I was doing psychedelics recreational when in my 20s, and it just kind of took me into that direction of, okay, these are very powerful medicines. It's fun to do it recreational, but how can I learn from these medicines? How can I be intentional with these medicines? And when I started doing ayahuasca, it's something I never thought I would do, because I just thought that, you would have to go to the jungle and do that. And I was very limited at the time. When I first found out about this sacred plant medicine, I was like, I told myself, it's going to take me years for me to do that, to even take that courage to do that. And eventually I manifested that. And there's communities out there here in the United States that are doing it. And I had that opportunity to try it for the first time, and it just blew me away. But the thing is, integration is so important and it's super key. And I feel like with that, there needs to be guidance, because here you do the medicine, but right after, there's not really, you're integrating, but there's so much to digest and integrate. You don't know where to start, and you don't have the guidance. So I kept doing it, trying to find more answers, but again, you have the answers, but you want to know more, you know. And I was in that phase of my life that I just felt like I need to know more and more. And sometimes we don't need to know more and more because it can drive you crazy. So it really helped me to really face my fears, challenge myself, to really feel, because that's something that we lack, in the feeling of our body. And it just, it's really, it could be very intense, you know, to even describe your experience. But it allowed me to open my heart. And I think once you open your heart, that's really key.
I
With
love that about
everything.
plant medicine, right? Like, I absolutely love that about the plant medicine, is that inevitably it does rewire the brain, but it's because of the heart opening, right?
Exactly.
There's that exchange of getting out of the human experience and being
Right.
shown these other realms, dimensions, these other spaces, and to know that that everything's connected. Like, it doesn't matter what type of medicine. If it's plant medicine, there's several different types, right? And yet
Right.
they all have their particular method of working with you and revealing things to you, but they all open your heart. They all help rewire and deprogram and let yourself surrender. Like, they require a level of surrender and
Right.
to let go. And then they show you the beautiful behind the scenes, and then you realize that there's something beyond the human experience. And that's what I think you mean by it connects you to your soul. Like,
Right.
it's showing you that underneath this ego, this I am program, there is bliss, there is
Right.
unity,
Correct.
right? There is wholeness, there's completeness, there's there is source, and there is, it's impossible to be disconnected or separated from it. And that is the truth all along, always has been, always will be. And
Right.
there's nothing that that the ego I am experience can do. It's an illusion to think of you as separate than. So that's what I love about the plant medicine, because it humbles the human and allows them to almost relax into the external world, and also celebrate that relationship of their intuition, like you said, to access all that chakra energy and start to learn how to work with your own energy, and to be
Right.
an ownership of your own energy, and start to master that, navigate that intentionally, so that you can be a harmonic component of this life experience, right? Rather than self-sabotaging. And I feel like that's always what can help us start to take more interest in our self-care, and interest in the effect that we have on ourselves and others. I think the plant medicine, that's an inevitable aspect. And yeah, it can be intense, and it can show you things that will blow your mind, but in a good way, right?
Right.
It helps you get out of your own way, helps you get over some things that are completely, literally just stories that you've made up in your head, right?
Right.
Yeah. And I love that you said it, to have the courage to do that, not necessarily just for fun, but to want to have the understanding to drink the wisdom and be able to actually apply it, because we can be shown so much that it's hard to unpack and process.
Right.
But I have learned, and I've seen people go and do ceremony after ceremony after ceremony, literally day after day, or and I'm like, woof, that is in its own, because they're looking for that. They want that euphoric, but they still haven't
Right.
processed the true information, and they need that mentoring. It's important to have that coaching that,
Right.
after one ceremony, it could take 6 months to process something, or longer.
Oh yes.
Right.
It's honestly, whenever I sit in ceremony, just the preparation itself, because they tell you, a week or two, try not to eat this, be meditative, get good sleep. That's already energy right there. When you're sitting for, like, let's say, like, I'm assuming like 8 hours overnight, and then the next morning you're in this cloud, and then normally you stay after you're connecting, and then you're going back to reality, because we're not in the jungle. we're in the city, or in the suburbs. You go back to your reality. All that experience, it's wonderful, but the next thing is like, now what? And another thing that made me realize about what plant medicine like really opened my eyes is to be grateful, because you do have this death experience, and before that you're going through this transition, you're getting well, you're purging, and you're releasing what no longer serves in your body. And it just makes you realize, wow, like, you think you're not sick because you may be healthy, you're functioning, but you have things deep within your body that needs to be released, and you're going through the sickness transition. And then when you purge and let go, which is, for me, the purging is the hardest. It's hard for me to do that, to let go. And then when you let go, it's like, wow, like, that was just, I made it difficult, but it was that simple. And it makes you realize how grateful you have to be with your body, because your body.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No,
Your
ahead.
body, your body is a universe.
Yes.
Like, we have a universe that is reflecting upon us, but your body is a universe, and how much it heals, how it repairs every day when you go to sleep. And then we sometimes neglect it, but it still functions. And then going through that transition of plant medicine, you're going through all this, and then you're like a brand new person. You're like, wow. And then it makes you realize how you need to be grateful for yourself, how you need to be grateful for life in general, for even just breathing. We take that for granted.
Yeah.
And the thing is, people, they walk in their lives, and they go through, they're living their life, and they're going through stress. And if we just tap into that breath, if we know how to maneuver it, we can just calm our bodies. And we have the tools to do that, and we have the knowledge. But it's just, again, with what we're speaking about, school and the government, they don't like to hear all this holistic stuff, especially during the pandemic. People were sharing things holistically, and they're just debunking everything. And I just feel like gratitude is part of opening your heart. It is the journey to the heart. And once you have gratitude within yourself and life, then things tend to flow much easier, because you're not really in your mind space to be complaining, because what is there to complain? Like, life is so precious, and that's why you have to go through that life and death experience, because without medicine, you're probably going to have challenges that feel like life and death. But some people do have challenges that is really like chaotic in that sense, but we're not challenged enough like that. And I think that's why plant medicine is so powerful, because it's a level of discomfort that I can't even describe. It's it's overwhelming. But when you release, when you heal from all that, everything makes sense. But the important thing again is the integration and the guidance after that. With the tools that I learned from plant medicines, the wisdom, how can I put that in my life to keep it into consistent harmony and flow?
Well, you know,
and go ahead. No, that's all I have to say for now.
The harmony and flow, I find it really interesting that the curanderos and the shamans that are holding this space, it doesn't matter who, if it's traditional ceremony, they all ask you to do impeccable self-care for at least a week to 2 weeks before the ceremony. In other words, and that's like a little hint, isn't it? Like the more normalized it is to have yourself and your vessel already in a state of well-being, like the more rested you are in general, the more clean your diet is in general, the more joy you run and experience in general, right? The more sleep you have, all of these things, it's like they recommend this to get yourself basically into alignment so that the plant medicine, you can receive it without so much complication. And I would venture to say that if someone had been, let's say, preparing and living themselves and practicing impeccable self-care, right, with maybe superfoods and getting their alignment and their yoga and their breath work, and they have this daily practice like I have every single day, it's like then you're already in a state of clarity, you're already in a state of balance and harmony. And when you go into ceremony, it's not such a shock, it's not such a flip of the switch, and the medicine work with you in such a gentler way for on the physical, mental, and emotional levels. And people don't understand the connection between the physical, mental, and emotional and soul levels. And we are in the driver's seat. We are, choosing every single day what to prioritize. And that means the quality of, our energy, the quality of our foods, the quality of our environments, our stress levels. We are literally in control of all of that to a large degree. And so if we were prepped and we walked through life and it was normal for us to have this daily self-care standard of, just very clear and synergistic, and we're attuned to our body, I think that the purge and the intensity of the plant medicine becomes less, and the wisdom can be received and integrated much and understood much easily or more easily. And what I'm saying is that the precipice of preparing yourself is something we could all be doing, right, just in normal everyday life. And not just for the plant medicine, but it definitely, if it's going to help go through that journey, then why wouldn't it help go through normal everyday life when we're thrown, all these distractions and demands and overstimulation, like you say. Like, that's really important to own what you are capable of bringing into balance, right?
Yes, I totally agree with what you're saying. I feel like even that process itself, the biggest takeaway is that you learn your wisdom, and you can take that and keep it consistent for you to, to grow, to evolve as a human being. I also feel like is important too, because sometimes I feel like we're humans, like we'll have phases or times that we don't, I don't want to say not take care of ourselves, but like we just enjoy life. Like maybe we splurge, but I feel like I think for me, from what I've learned the past years, is everything in moderation and awareness, and being aware, like, hey, I'm doing this, maybe it's out of my alignment, but know that going out of alignment could be a reflection for you to go back to alignment. And
Yes.
it's an experience, because
Yeah.
the journey itself is an experience.
Yes.
Plant medicine is an experience. Everything in life is experience, and there's something to gain out of every experience, good or bad. There's something to gain from. And I also feel like we're also multi-dimensional human beings that, yeah, sometimes we could be in this, 5D or 4D, but sometimes, we want to get to 3D, we want to be humans. And I think it's important to have that balance of, just like, don't restrict yourself neither, because I know there's like a consistency of lifestyle, like you're doing this, knowing that, okay, I'm gonna enjoy my life, because I'm a human being and I can always bounce back, and I think that's important. Like,
Yeah, I feel you. And I totally agree. I have a personal like example of that. It's like, yes, it does take discipline to a certain degree in a certain context to sustain the clarity and to get into a groove of impeccable self-care. It does take discipline. And at some point that changes, and it doesn't feel like discipline anymore, because you realize that it's what's enabling you to have the clarity. It's the fuel. The discipline becomes the fuel for this expanded awareness and this deeper connection, and this this intuitive third or multidimensional, beyond the third dimension experience, right? Then it becomes an everyday experience, right? Like, to be multidimensional when you first practice the discipline. But I will tell you that I was just pet sitting and house sitting for a client, and they had these little tiramisu cups, in the fridge, and they're like, yeah, just enjoy, and usually I pack my own stuff, and I'm all very self-contained, and I bring my own food and all of that, and they were like, yeah, just enjoy anything you want, no worries. And I was like, tiramisu? I haven't had tiramisu in so long, right? And I was like, what?
yeah,
And I was literally excited, and and it is an indulgence, right? But sometimes what it means that to allow yourself to live, right, is that becomes the to me, it is indulgence, but it's also playful, it's also rewarding,
pleasure.
Pleasure, right? And I'm like, oh my gosh, no, I'm not going to go out and buy a case of that, right? But in other words, I don't have any guilt, because I'm like, yeah, I'm going to have some tiramisu. Like, my body's saying, yes, ma'am. Right? And so
I think that could be so healing. Like,
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, there is that balance, but there is that, like, I have the integrity to the point to where I'm not worried about falling off the out of track with myself, like out of groove, out of flow. It's like, no, I know that it's a indulgence, and I give myself full permission to enjoy it without batting an eye, knowing that I've already established some very deep connection with my self-care, right? That it's not sabotaging me in any way. It's actually celebrating, in a certain way. So I do understand what you're saying. And I think it's very valuable for us to be able to always allow ourselves to, like you said, be source in the drop, have that human, a source having a human experience. That is the journey we're on.
And the thing is, you speaking about experience, it's an experience, and it really comes down to intention.
Yeah.
Because if you're not intentional about it, then it could be like, okay, you're yeah, you're getting off your habit, and then it becomes, you know, kind of an addiction. Okay, I had a tiramisu, now I want another one, and then you buy that pack. But when it's intentional and you're just saying to yourself, I'm gonna enjoy this because
Yeah.
I'm human. It's not something I mean, I'm sorry, tiramisu, I I probably would be that person who would buy a little more, you know, have a case of it, because tiramisu is tiramisu.
Yeah.
But if it was something else, like, then a different story. But I just feel like it's really, again, I want to pick out these words because gratitude, conscious intention,
Mhm.
experience.
Yes.
Those words for me are big because of the journey where it has taken me. Those words have helped me manifest my journey.
Yeah.
And when we start to have relationship with those words and define it in our own version, then you can tap into that flow state, you know,
Yeah.
and
And
then
things into
into the
context.
alchemy of life.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I love it. Love it. So, curious. You ready to play a game?
Of course.
Of
Why
course.
not?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to access the list, and I want you're going to pick 3 numbers, and I'm going to give you a word, and you're just going to tell me whatever comes up for you, whatever that inspires or ignites, or whether it's a story or just what that word means for you or represents. Okay. So that, yeah, you just flow. Okay. 1 through 50. What's your first number?
1 through 50.
Yep.
I'm gonna have to go with 33.
That's so common. Interesting. It is a popular number. Okay, so 33 is transformation.
Wow. What a good word. So basically speak about transformation.
It's whatever comes up for you in the moment about
So
transformation.
all right. So I have to talk about transformation because I've been seeing butterflies. That's something I see all the time. And whenever I see butterflies, it is the sign of transformation.
Mm.
And how I see myself is a butterfly. Not exactly, because butterflies, their lifespan is way shorter. But transformation, if I can take a second of just thinking about my life, transformation has, I'm trying to think.
Yeah. There's, like I said, whatever your heart says. What does your heart say about transformation? The power of transformation.
The power of transformation. I've, you know, looking back at my journey, I've been through different stages, phases of self, you know, like the question that we're always asking is, who am I? And there's really no need to ask that question, because every day is transformation. If you allow yourself to see that,
Yes.
if you allow to see yourself, you know, to live day by day and say, you know, there's something I've learned that's transformative. The person that I connected with today, you know, there's something there that could be transformative. It's the process of evolving and just the different stages of feelings within yourself, of, you know, of emotions, of even your thinking process, your physical process. I mean, think about transformation. You know, we're born as a baby and we evolve as adults. That's, you know, we change, we like we just grow, and transformation is part of growth, and it's just the part of human evolution. And I think it's really important to acknowledge that word and to bring that word in your life, and to make it a meditation too as well. Because if you don't have transformation in your life, then it's probably living this stagnant life, and just having that connection with that word and saying, how can I transform every day? Or if it's too much to ask for a daily practice, how can I transform on a month to month? Or how can I transform from the lunar cycles? Or how can I transform this year instead of setting goals? Because we're so big on goals.
Yeah.
That I think that's the question we can ask ourselves with the new year or astrology year. Like, what can I do to transform as a person? How can I look back and just reflect on my journey, and tell myself, what can I do to not really change myself, like the things that I am happy with, but just how can I transform to upgrade?
Yeah.
Because if you really think about it, like, when there's a product, you want to upgrade. When you buy something and you're bored with it, okay, I want to upgrade. So transformation is part of upgrading, ascension, expanding.
Yeah.
And I think it's something that we should implement more in our life, just that word itself.
Love it.
It's pretty much.
Yeah. And I do agree with you. It's like to reflect and to take note, kind of inventory on our spiritual, mental, physical, emotional self, and ask what feels ready for transformation. What do you, where is it in your, being that is speaking to you, saying, I'm ready for a shift. I'm ready for a fresh start. I'm ready for a clean slate. Yeah. Like I'm ready to know what it is to birth wings, and and do something in a different way, or approach something with a new sight or a new openness. So I love that. I love how you shared with that. It's 111 in my time, by the way, 111. So as we,
oh wow,
go into angel numbers, that's the first, and that's, to me, the human can move from the third dimension into the fifth dimension, which is a massive transformation of awareness and the state of consciousness. And that is the that is where a whole nother, like, we're accessing, like you're saying, a whole nother paradigm of existence and beingness, right? Of illumination. And that I'm over the moon with. Okay, next number.
All right. Next number would be 7.
Oh, okay. Sacred space.
Wow. Sacred space, holding space, sacred space, your temple, grounding, your home.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have to have, I don't want to say have to, but acknowledge that our sacred space is our body. That's a first.
Yes.
And the sacred space that we have, this universe, nature, the vortexes of life.
Yes. Yes, I feel you.
And when you find that, I guess, have that connection with the sacred space, then you're able to hold space for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
hold space for others, hold space for community. And that's, in other words, support. And then from support comes inspiration, collaboration, creation.
Yeah. Go girl. Go
Yeah. And then it goes into expansion. And but that's something that, again, I think these words that you have, I don't even know the other words you have, but I think these are vocabularies that should be introduced to, us when we're kids. Imagine if we had those words in elementary school and kids knew what these words meant and how significant they are to this universe, how it changes lives.
Yeah, I feel you. I feel you. And I love what you were saying, that our body is the first sacred space, our temple. Like I literally got full body chills, right? In that. And then the universe itself, like this external place, is also a sacred space. Gaia is a sacred space. And then, our mental, emotional, and again, our physical, we can hold that, as a sacred space. Our daily dedication in the morning, like, time to ourselves, yoga, breath work, meditation can all be sacred spaces, right? That we create for ourselves. I have a little altar that celebrates my inner child on my bedstand. That's a sacred space, right? So understanding a sacred space can be Lovelight Speaks, like this, where it's like, no, there's an intention being held and a exchange and an experience being had. And so, yeah, I love how you took it from the finite to the infinite, and just like slam dunked it like all across the board. But I really do. That was so quick for you to connect those, but to allow ourselves that perspective of, that it's a broad spectrum, the concept of sacred space, and to entertain the fact that we can have an emotional sacred space, a mental sacred space, a physical sacred space, a relationship style, like a friendship can be a sacred space, right? Appreciation,
Right.
appreciation and gratitude alone, grace alone is sacred space, right? It's
Right.
frequencies that are sacred, that are nurturing and precious, right? Yeah, girl, I love your responses.
And I forgot to add, with sacred space, love. Love is what makes sacred space, with
Love
the
it.
intention, love and compassion.
Yeah, I adore it. I adore it. Oh, girl. Okay, one more.
All right. So for my last number, I have to go with, I'm going to close my eyes. I'm going to see what number comes up. And I would have to go with 24.
24. Oh, this is interesting. Yeah, so 24 is resonance.
Wow. Resonance. It's a little challenging, but resonance. Resonance in an aspect of resemblance.
Yeah, I feel you.
We're all one. We're different, but we're all one. And there are certain things that you meet in people and it resembles and it doesn't. And if it resembles, it's a good thing. And what doesn't resemble is a good thing still, because there's something to teach there.
Oh, I love it.
And again, with all the other words, sacred space, and I guess also knowing, the knowing within yourself.
Yeah.
And the connection of your inner voice, and just honoring that, just really connecting with yourself and really honoring that, and honoring the people around you, and honoring this life, you know, just the beautiful moments, the precious moments, the challenging, the discomfort. And I think with resonance comes resilience, you know, and grit, and knowing that, connecting the other words, transformation, you know, within yourself, within the journey, and just and carry on as a human being, and know that, I guess, resonance is an opportunity to be in harmony. I don't know if that makes sense.
Totally makes sense. Totally. Right. Because it's an indicator of harmony. It's an indicator of like true north. Right. And I love that you said that it, you know, whether you feel resemblance or not, it still teaches you something. So there's this holistic like gift that comes in with whether we resonate with something or whether we relate or you know, we find that resemblance, you know, like that law of attraction, you know, energy attracts like energy. So I feel that and really appreciate again the wordplay, because it definitely ties a lot in. And when something resonates with you, your capacity to acknowledge it and honor it is a choice. Like you can acknowledge it, but not necessarily honor it. So, you know, taking resonance into an active verb and, you know, allowing yourself to, you know, be the creator of resonance, or to, you know, dance with resonance. And, you know, that I love that context to it that you brought. It's like, it's more than just whether you feel something, it's that act of honoring it, an act of being a part of it, and allowing yourself to be navigated through that, is the way of transformation, right? It is the way of, you know, resonance is what I think catapults us into transformation, and living that inspired life, like you were saying. So, wow, those were good. You picked some good ones.
Right. And another thing I want to add to that, you know, resemblance, and, you know, that you know, tends to move into relations, you know, because if we resonate with something, it's like, I resonate with you. And then, you know, that's relating, and then relation, and then relationship, you know, because when you meet someone new and you resonate with them, you're like, oh my God, I resonate with you. And then the connection just blossoms from there. So, you know, it interweaves into relationship, and then into, you know, creation, because, you know, it could be a collaboration, or it could just be, and that's it, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just wanted to emphasize that.
Yeah. And what was happening right here in this moment is a reflection of that relationship, because that's how we, you know, when we met, I resonated with you right away. Like there was there was a distinct, like, I get this girl, like I feel her, and there is a likeness, you know. It's like, oh, she gets me, and I understand.
Aww.
She speaks my language, you know, and so I get it. And then, you know, here we are, years later, and, you know, still having that sense of connectedness and appreciation and celebration for one another, and, you know, sharing that encouragement and empowerment and all the beautiful things that a relationship of likeness, of resonance can provide. So yeah, it's really juicy stuff.
Yes, I love it. I love our conversations. I love how our relationship has evolved, and regardless of distance, that we have that connection. And I know that I'm supported in other areas of of this world. And I would love to have more of this, and in different, countries. I want to connect more with people, and learn about cultures, and have that networking, because sometimes we could tend to be stuck in our bubble, and just, sometimes when we don't see people physically, we're just like, we're so connected, we have technology, but at the same time we could feel disconnected. But I think these platforms are important because, you and I are having conversation, there's someone out there that will resonate.
Yeah.
And they will understand, and then probably someone else is going to feel it, it multiplies, it's contagious. And I think it's really important to share that to the community, and know that regardless of how far we are, we do have there is a connection there, that we're human beings, that we have the technologies to connect for that reason, and to also take advantage of that.
Well, and speaking about taking advantage of that, how would someone listening connect with you if they feel inspired by you and just really, are feeling that resonance? How would they share with you? How would they reach out to you? How would you like to be, accessed?
So my platform right now, I don't have a YouTube channel. I'm not really on Facebook a lot. I'm on Instagram more. So my Instagram is Liz in the Biz, and let me see, Lizinth. The E is a 3. So
Okay.
is TH3BIZ.
Got
And it should say Liz Suarez.
Okay, great. So that's how they can seek you out. Excellent. And I encourage anyone that is resonating with her and feels her, and has any inspired spark, to do that, to reach out to her. And then in the final, if you had a message for the world, if you had something to share with the world that's in your heart, with anything that can be expressed, because the world's a crazy place these days.
Right.
What would be something that what is your message to the world?
My message to the world is to have some sort of faith. And faith, it could be within yourself, it could be a certain God, it could be, great spirit, it could be the mystery of life, but to have faith and to have gratitude that we're living in these times. We are living in very stressful times, but it is a gift, an opportunity to be here on this realm, and to be just grateful of the people you have in your life, to love them, to really, speak your truth, speak from the heart, and to just continue having that connection, and always have that intention of love. And we say it's so simple, like love, but it takes a lot to really love ourselves, and it starts with us first. And once it starts with us, it, amplifies. And we don't have to really pour the message to people about love. When you're an act of love, you'll be a reflection to that, and it will vibrate and expand from that. So that is my message.
Love it, girl. Oh, thank you so much for taking this time to share, and to share yourself and your beauty. And I know it was a courageous leap for you, and I'm very, very proud of you. Yeah, and and yeah, it was really special. It was really special because I know how much of a leap it was for you, and I
Right.
and I are similar in that. So oddly enough, neither one of us are super comfortable in the speaking on the platforms, but it is beautiful to be in your presence, and I cherish you and appreciate you very much.
Thank you so much for having me. This I'm just like, this has been so much fun, and I definitely want to do more of this. I want to, continue. I know we had this conversation of, doing other things. So
Mhm.
I definitely want to expand and share more, because I felt like this, the more I do it, the more organic it'll become. And I want to share. I want to connect with you. I feel like you have so much to share too. And I feel like it comes organic. I don't see any level of discomfort. And I feel like it's part of, for us to grow together and to really spread the message.
Yes, girl. Yes, girl. Well, I do have a couple of live streams that I would love to have you on. So that will be our next opportunity, our next endeavor. And this is all for now for our Lovelight Speaks session. And again, just stay bright, Lovelight. Stay bright. You're absolutely stunning.
Oh, thank you so much, CJ. Thank you. It's been a pleasure. So
Right back
much.
at you. Mwah.
So
See you
much
soon.
love.
So much love. I get it. Oh, I feel it. All right.
Ah,
Aloha.
aloha.